Hello, everyone. You're welcome to the BLC Co-op Show. This is our first ever episode, and we're so excited to have you here with us. I know you're watching on YouTube, but don't worry, you will have fun. You're gonna have fun being with us. Sorry, that was just a glitch. Okay, my name is Wumi Akinlosotu, and I'm going to be your host for the Co-op Show today. The Co-op Show is brought to you by Blooming Ladies Cooperative Canada, which is a multi-stakeholder cooperative for women. Our vision is to have a Canadian sisterhood of empowered women that support each other to grow and succeed, create opportunities, drive change, and create a lasting legacy. You're welcome. And I have two wonderful, gorgeous, and knowledgeable women in the room with me today. We're going to have fun. So I'm just going to introduce those ladies. The first person I'm going to introduce is Christine Clark. She's the founder and facilitator of Freedom Dreams Cooperative Education. She's an organic farmer, an advocate for co-ops and the solidarity economy. She's in the final year of the Co-op Development Training Program offered by Co-op Zone, a national organization dedicated to providing professional assistance to co-op entrepreneurs. And she sits on the board of directors of the local food and farm cooperative, which provides development support for food and farming cooperatives and enterprises in Ontario. The Freedom Dreams Cooperative Education Program is a collaborative effort, and they are constantly seeking to partner with BIPOC cooperators with the ultimate goal that the program itself become a worker-owned educational cooperative. You're welcome, Christine. Let's wave to the audience. Let's see you. Welcome. Welcome,
It's on the
Christine.
talk show. Thank you.
So over to Heather. Heather Hal Grimstein is a business development lead for Cooperatives First. In this role, she assists cooperative startups in defining and launching their business. Her passion is to help groups create their own solutions by working together. Heather received degrees from the University of Saskatchewan in linguistics and policy. She grew up in the rural Saskatchewan and lives in Saskatoon, but you can find her at the lake on any given weekend. You're welcome to the show, Heather.
Thanks, Budme. Glad to be here.
Great. And the other thing about Heather that she was one of the main people that helped us set up Blooming Ladies Cooperative. I can remember the many hours of meetings we used to have then before Blooming Ladies was founded just last year. So thank you very much, ladies. It's great to have you here. Before we went live, we were talking about the cooperatives, and I was asking you, ladies, how long you've been in the cooperative world and in that field. So, Christine, please could you share with us how long you've been in the cooperative world and what actually moved you to this industry and this world we are in?
Thanks, Winnie. The question that we're discussing today, can co-ops empower individuals and communities, is the question that drove me to the cooperative movement. I'm an organic farmer, and when I started farming 3 years ago, I was just really influenced by Fannie Lou Hamer, who was a civil rights activist and a farmer. And she started a cooperative farm called Freedom Farm Cooperative. And it was based on that very thing, empowering Black Americans who were living under the violence and oppression, of a racist America. And the co-op farm became this model that she saw could lead to economic development for Black farmers, but also political freedom. Because Fannie Lou Hamer started the farm after she was fired from her previous. She was employed doing sharecropping, and the white farmer threatened her with with a firing if she voted. And so for her, um, co-op model and land ownership was this way of not just economic power empowerment, but political empowerment. And I was really inspired by that. And in my own way, wanted to farm in a way that, paid homage to these cooperative or incorporated these cooperative principles. And really, I see the cooperative model. I mean, off the bat, I'm going to answer yes to the question, can co-ops empower individuals and communities? It's a resounding yes for me. And, I'm new to the co-op sector. I started Freedom Dreams Co-op last year. But as I continue in this work, I want that question to be at the center of what we do, empowering individuals and communities.
Thank you very much, Christine, for that. Heather, you are actually also in the crop sector, but in a different way. Could you let us know what you do and why you are in the sector? What actually intrigues you about the cooperative world?
Um, yeah, so my story starts when I went on mat leave from my previous job. And well, I was kind of thinking I wouldn't return to that job, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And while I was, away 10 months in or so into my mat leave, somebody that I went to my master's degree with posted a job at an organization I'd never heard of. And he worked there, and I was like, oh, okay, what's this? And to preface this, I knew absolutely nothing about co-ops. Like, even like the co-op, like if you're from Western Canada, or if anyone's listening, like the co-op, like the big red sign. But other than that, like I didn't even understand how it was different than any other store, gas station, grocery store. So I knew like nothing. And I applied for the job, and just like, I sort of have this general curiosity for anything. And I think my biggest fear is to be bored. So I just always chase whatever I find interesting or new or whatever. So I applied for this job, and the executive director, it was like her candor was amazing, just like so different from anything else. And I was like, okay, this is going to be really interesting, because it was basically like the proposition was help me launch this organization and get it off the ground. And I was like, okay. In the role of an office manager, I was like, already, I can do that. Whereas like most jobs, like it was kind of like, here's your role, these are the tasks you're supposed to perform. Like you kind of feel
Yeah,
like you're in the system, you're like
I know.
just outputting things. But this job, it was like, here's a chance to get in on the ground floor. It was 2016, and that was the year this organization was incorporated. We're a not-for-profit organization, funded by Federated Cooperatives Limited. So, so that was what intrigued me, is the opportunity to make a mark and do something interesting and fun with a good team. But I guess that's sort of why I came into co-ops, and why I stayed is because of the well, I don't know. I haven't managed to get. I haven't been bored yet, and that really says something about, like, not that I'm a person who gets bored easily, but it means that I find this work so perfect for what I believe in, my ethics, what I think is important. Like it connects to a deeper sense of purpose, because I get to see people and I get to help them or have a part in their success, determining their own future, and I see that as my role. It's to help them shape and get to where they want to go. And I provide kind of a sounding board. I'm like a, sort of a direction. I point them in the right direction, maybe, or a direction. But it's about them. It's not really about me achieving my goals and my dreams. I always see it as whatever people bring to me. We try to kind of mold it, craft it, and to get them to achieve what they want to do. And it's what they want to do that's so exciting, because what they want to do is to bring back a movie theater in their community, have the first ever cooperatively owned daycare in their community, or their small town, or to create jobs, or to create a pool of investment that invests in small business. Like those are really, each story, it's not even that they're meant to be inspiring, because the people doing them just see it as Like, this is what they
Yeah.
have to do. This is what they believe in. This is what they want to do. So it's not like
Yeah.
it's not like they woke up and said, I'm going to be an inspiration today, but they're inspiring to me because
Mm.
they really want this to happen and it's what matters to them. And so I just get to have a piece of that and get to be like a, I don't know, a funnel or whatever. So
Mm.
that's my role. That's my job. That's how I'm part of it. And how I got into it.
Well, I really like your story. Of course, Christine's story also. But what I want to bring up from what you said is the different things that people are doing with the cooperative model. Imagine we want to have a daycare that is cooperative owned by all the mothers. We want to have a cinema in our community. We want to pull together resources and invest in all the local businesses in our, those things are what it's actually what actually empowers people and empowers the community. Christine, I know you have stories about things like this. Can you just share one story about how co-ops, are changing the story, changing the narratives of people in their communities?
Sure. Well, immediately a co-op that comes to mind is the St. Jamestown Community Co-op, which is a community development co-op in Toronto in the St. Jamestown neighborhood, which is really diverse areas. I actually think in Canada. I mean, it's an area in which I wish I had all the facts in front of me, but I think over 50 languages are spoken in this neighborhood. And I've had the real privilege to work with them on different initiatives that they're doing, and really want to uplift Josephine Gray, who is one of the founding members of St. Jamestown and a longtime co-op activist and human rights activist in the area in Toronto. One thing that they're doing, which I find just really empowering, really innovative, is they started a group called the Eco-Just Food Network. And this is a food that focuses on food, a group that focuses on food security, bringing food security to the neighborhood. And within that project, they have what's called the Food Corp. And the aim of the Food Corp is to empower residents with the know-how to grow food. And also, it provides this bridge between folks living in the neighborhood with having on-farm experiences. So going out rurally and helping farmers with the production and harvest.
Mm.
Underpinning this model is a time bank. When we talk about solidarity economy, which co-ops are a part of, time bank is an important concept. It's a type of reciprocal exchange in which hours are currency. And you, for example, if you have one skill set, you can basically trade, you could barter for something, that you need, not based on money, like dollar money, but based on the hours that you've contributed. And St. Jamestown and the Eco-Just Food Network, they're using that time bank as a way to help farmers with their production and harvest, and
Mm.
then use the currency of their hours to bring food into the neighborhood, to purchase food,
Wow.
yes, from the farmers they work with and bring it into the neighborhood.
Mm.
And I'm just really inspired by that system because it's also a way of really, when we talk about co-ops, we're talking about an alternative economy, and using models like time banking is a really, walking the talk, putting something in action that puts value, a different kind of value on people's time and labor in a way that not just benefits them, but benefits the community at large. So, I really, for folks out there watching, I really recommend, to really look up St. Jamestown Community Co-op, because that's just one of many innovative things that the community is coming together to accomplish.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Christine. Heather, I go to your website and I read different stories. Could you share one of those inspiring stories about one of the cooperatives that you helped get started?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
started sweating, I think, because there's just so many that I could share. But I just tell one that is a pretty recent story that we recently assisted them in incorporating, and I think it's one of the first of its kind. So that's why I wanted to share it. And I think what this really shows is the opportunity for cooperatives to be a tool for self-determination and for people to take back agency. Like, I think we can pick up on those themes a little bit more. But the idea is basically that we can determine our own destiny. We don't have to wait for
Mm.
someone else to decide it's important.
Mm-hmm.
So the story is, I'm actually not going to say the legal name of the cooperative because it's in Cree, or it's in the language. I'm sorry, it's in the language of the group that has created it. I misspoke there, and I can't pronounce it. I tried, and we had to get special permission to use this as the legal name and provide an English translation for their registry because they were like, "What is this?" So even that I thought was groundbreaking. That's about representation. Like, let's use a word in another language for the name of this cooperative for the legal name. Like, why not? But okay, so it's a group of the cooperative has been started by a group of elders in southern Saskatchewan in the Yorkton
Mm-hmm.
area, and it's a cooperative to preserve language and culture of this particular Indigenous group. You can check out this story in a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
detail on our website under the client stories. I think there's like a learn
Okay.
tab at the top, and if you click client stories, it's under there. But this group of elders understood that it was important to them to preserve language and culture, as well as to create kind of an organization that could provide information, sort of training and sharing about healthy and balanced lifestyles as well. So there's a few different objectives of this cooperative, but the central thing was to maintain the culture and the language is the Onakanawan language. And so I think what this shows is that this group of people had the foresight to say, it's important to us to preserve our language and culture. And then they decided that the co-op was, a cooperative was the right tool for them because they said, like, look, this is a way that we can work together and all kind of share in what this means to us. And the next person who comes in is equal member just as much as we are.
Mm.
That's the one thing I remember we talked about when we early on is that the next member is just as much control as you do, right? So you always have to be thinking
Yeah.
about that. Like when you bring on new people, they have just as much shape in the vision. But for this group, it's really super important that they had that. So I don't think they have any website or anything yet, but just you can check out their story on our website if you wanted to learn a little bit more about this Indigenous co-op. But I thought that the foresight to be able to decide, like, we're going to do something and we're going to share it, we're going to do this ourselves was just, I don't know, really showed a kind of, I don't know, spirit that I think is important to point out. So
Yeah. Well, those are interesting stories. And one thing about cooperatives that it can be non-profit or for profit. So you have that liberty to have a non-profit cooperative or to have a for-profit cooperative. For Blooming Ladies, for example, it's a for-profit cooperative to help women actually have access to the economic power they need, the support they need. So it's not just economic power, but then even have a support to have the resources they need, to have the people they need actually to grow themselves the business. And I like the meaning of cooperative or the definition of cooperative. I mean, talk about the empowering the members, either if it's the economic, culture, social. So it depends on what the members want to do. So they can choose, we want to actually develop ourselves or find a way of making money with this cooperative, and they can go ahead and do that. If it's just to keep our culture, like the one header spoke about, and if it's just is to actually help our community grow, like the one Christine spoke about. So we just have that diversity, and I love it. I love it. I love it. For the Blooming Ladies, we had a meeting of recent, and we were talking about what are the businesses we could actually invest in as a cooperative so that our members can be financially empowered. So this cooperative is just amazing. I love the fact that you can achieve so many things with cooperatives. Okay, so I would ask this question. We have cooperative, which is just a business structure. So what makes the cooperative structure different from other businesses, or other business structure? Christine, want to go first?
Sure, thanks, Winnie. I think one of is, and one that really stands out for me, is that the workers are the bosses, or the community members make the decisions. And both you and Heather on this, which is that constant, Heather used the term agency, you know, and this is what I believe we really need to focus on in the Canadian cooperative movement, is the agency of individuals and communities to decide their own destiny, to decide on the approaches that are most relevant for them. It's a shift from this sort of top-down solutions that come from people that don't share the lived experiences of the impacted communities, and having a more groundswell approach. And we really need to bake this into our co-ops at all levels here in Canada, because there are areas in which it doesn't show up, right? These principles of democracy and equity and solidarity are enshrined in the co-op principles, but they don't often show up in the makeup of our co-ops, here in Canada. And so, when we look forward to, or when we look at the future of work, right now we're in January, and a lot of the reports about the future of work have come out. And one of the biggest things that's being observed is workers are now coming with different expectations for work. Right? This pandemic has really shifted how we work and how we want to work in the future. And, Heather brought up two things, like in her own personal story, that she didn't want to be bored and to work with purpose. And I think that those two things are well supported by the co-op model. When you are in a co-op, you are engaged at the decision-making level, right? That's a high level of engagement. And you match that with purpose-driven. Heather, you spoke about all these examples of, communities identifying needs and creating co-ops around those needs. That's working with purpose. And so the co-op model really stands as this model that can address some of these really pressing questions as, workers ask, well, what kind of work, do I want in my, as we move forward and the workplace changes? So I'd say that very thing, democratic decision-making and democratic member control is what really distinguishes co-ops from other forms of business.
Thank you, Kristen. Heather, yeah, I will ask you the same question. What do you think
Well,
distinguishes?
there's the boring answer, and then there's like the good answer. I don't know.
Do the good answer, Heather. Do the good answer.
Yeah, I'll give you the boring, but okay, the boring answer is short, so I'll say it anyways. Okay, so the co-ops are incorporated, right? They're a legal entity outside of the people who create them. So other kinds of business you could choose as a corporation, which is also incorporated and would limit liability to the people who are founding it. But then sole proprietorships and partnerships are not incorporated. So co-ops are incorporated, limit liability, but where they're different is the decision-making and profit sharing. Those are like the two things. And Christine, you already said that decision-making thing is key because it's so small and so seemingly so sort of like tantalizingly minor that you almost would think, okay, well, that's not a big deal, but it actually is a big deal, because the reason why people would start co-ops is because they are solving their own problems.
Yeah.
So because someone else might say like, okay, I'm gonna invent something, I'm gonna develop an app, and I'm gonna, these people, they have this thing, and I'm gonna do this thing, and it's gonna deliver food for someone else. So you go and create a solution for somebody else. Someone else made a solution, and you went and bought it. But with a co-op, you're saying like, we all share this thing that's going on. There's something that we have in common that we all need, and there is a legitimate like business opportunity or a case to be made for why this thing could work, financially or supported by a nonprofit. And so the people who are directly affected by that sort of turn around and just be like, well, it's us, isn't it? Yeah, okay, it's us. So, and then you take it on yourself. So it's kind of like, legally, co-ops are decision making is one member, one vote. So you can't have more votes based on how much you invest in the business. And profit sharing in the business is not based on how much you own; it's based on how much you use the business. Nonprofits, of course, don't do profit sharing, so this eliminates those from the profit sharing discussion. But the idea is one member, one vote makes a huge difference because each person in, around the table, each prospective new member has the same ability to have representation on the board level and in the membership. So it doesn't matter how much you buy in. If you invest more, it doesn't get you more power or control of the organization. So that's, I guess, how co-ops are different. But I think where that's kind of okay, what a co-op is and what a co-op does. But I said, what a co-op does is a co-op is a group of people committed to identifying their own solution, sort of capturing their own opportunity. And I mean, no one understands the things that you face more than you, right? No one understands your context, your situation, and no one can necessarily see the same opportunities as you could. And just because somebody else doesn't say oh, there's an opportunity there, let's go back to the movie theater example. A group of people in a small city might say, or a small town, maybe not too small, but not large, might say okay, one of the big players is not going to come there. They just don't see the value in it because they have their operating environment is anywhere that will be profitable for their shareholders, right? But a group of people in that town might be we're really avid moviegoers and we really think that a theater could work in this town. And so they might test the feasibility of that. They might say, okay, well, how, what's the size of the market and what's, how much would this cost? How much money do we need to raise? Could we do this? And through that, they might decide, yeah, this is actually doable. We could have a movie theater here. And, it's not just about a movie theater, because then when someone comes and visits that town, they'd be like, well, this is an abandoned place. They got a movie theater. I don't know if if the last time you've been to a small town in Saskatchewan, but not everybody's got a movie theater. And so it sends a signal to others that you're ready to do something for your community, that you believe in it and that you're going to invest in it. And I was talking to other economic developers, and they really drove home that saying that no one else knows your what you face, your opportunities like you do. And so a group of people can make something happen out of that context, and they can do it with a cooperative. And I think that's what makes it so unique and interesting, and why that makes the co-ops as unique as the groups that start them, because everybody faces any number of challenges and anyone can solve them any number of ways. So there's no cut and paste when it comes to co-op. It's just there's kind of the legal structure, but then otherwise it's okay, go create your own destiny. What do you need? What do you want?
Wow, thank you very much. I love the way that you said there's no cut and paste, right? Every cooperative is unique. Like for Blooming Ladies Cooperative, we're not in a small community somewhere. Most of us at Calgary, we have a few in Edmonton. We plan to spread across Canada. But it's just a group of women that want to change their own stories, that want to change their own businesses and their lives. And what we tend to do is to actually empower women, right? So empower women, have your own say in the businesses you want to do. Have a place where you can have access to your own money if you need to borrow money, if you need to grow yourself. So it's about the women that are members. So I think that's one thing about the cooperative is your story. You write your story. So sometimes we have workers cooperative, like Kristen talked about. We have workers cooperative, we have consumer cooperative, we have producers cooperative, and we have multi-stakeholder cooperative. So there are different kind of cooperatives. If you really want to go and check about it, go to Cooperative First website. They have all the information you need about being a part of starting a cooperative and being a part of a cooperative. Yeah. So, is there any final words that you want to say before we close this interesting conversation?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, when you were talking about there's, I think it can be kind of like terminology soup sometimes when it comes to creating co-ops and starting co-ops. But I'm for me, it's just about focusing on what people want to do. what do you want to do? Like, where is the opportunity? Is it okay if I tell one more example?
Yeah, you can.
I don't have any personal interaction with this example, but I just wanted to tell it, to bring it forward, because I think it's the story we're telling. Is I don't know if others are familiar with the banker ladies. Lots of
I was going to
cultures
say
have.
that. Yes, talk about it, please.
Yeah, and I think that it goes by the name Susu, or there's a few Ayuto.
Ususu.
There's a
Yeah.
Susu. Yeah. So the concept for people who are not familiar with it is that a group of women from the same sort of ethnic community, socioeconomic status, they create a pool of money where there's like a buy-in or a hand, and then everyone kind of buys in, and then at a certain week you get your money back. So it's kind of like a group savings program.
Yeah.
Um, so so what's really interesting about this is like, I hope I explained that well enough, is that so a group of women get together, and they, it really empowers them, because it creates like, a pot of money that then they could use later, and if they need it, they have somewhere to go to get some money
Yeah.
out of it. If they need to go buy something that they're going to sell later, or whatever, if they need to fix their car. But I think what this is really like, I mean, if you take this kind of a layer off of it, is it's the group of women who are starting this. I mean, it's all about agency, right? It's all about taking their destiny into their own hands, because a lot of the women in the stories that I was listening to were saying this, like, you need to rely on men, like you need to rely on a man to in order to give you, like, you were kind of stuck with it, right? Like if you didn't have somebody kind of providing for you, then you didn't have any ability to really to get what you wanted. But what the kind of the susu, or the group pool, allowed you to do is to actually do something yourself, to get something yourself. So I guess it shouldn't be like surprising that it's a group of women doing this, because right, like who's shocked.
No.
But I love that, because I don't think technically they're like incorporated as cooperatives or whatever, but it's the same thing. Group of people all face a problem, all have resources, come together, make a pool, all share, and the group benefits of this thing existing. And so, I mean, to me, that's like the perfect cooperative story, because it shows how this allowed them to become more independent, how it allowed them to create their own destiny. How it was formed out of a basis of trust, because that's essential for cooperatives, is that we all sort of understand that we're all putting something in and we're all getting something out. We have to trust each other. That's what it's based on. And it's also based on this sort of like that there's an ethos or a framework of like self-help, that we're not going to wait around for anyone else, that we do have some power, whatever it is in our environment, like as small or as big as it might be, we have some power to help ourselves, and we can do it. We're not going to wait. We're going to ask, we're going to demand, but at the same time, we're going to do something ourselves. So anyway, that's my last example. I'll hand it back to you.
Heather, I actually wanted to, so you spoke about ROSCAs, which are sort of this formal name for these financial collectives.
Yeah, that's the academic name, or
the academic term, but
yeah,
it has
ROSCAs.
it has different names in different
and credit associations. Yeah,
exactly. Rotating savings and credits associations, but it has different names, depending on the culture in which you find it. And something I wanted to add to that, which is going to be important for the co-op sector in Canada moving forward, and when we look at this question of co-ops empowering our communities, is that we recognize those co-ops. Because he said, they're technically not co-ops. Sure, they're not incorporated as co-ops, but there are cultural and ancestral ways of working cooperatively. And if the co-op sector wants to start building bridges between the sector and BIPOC communities, it's about recognizing the ways in which we already cooperate. It's not about thinking you have to foist some model that you think we don't know about onto us. We do know about it. And recognizing that, getting recognition and support from the sector is that bridge. For me personally, it's also about honoring and carrying forward my community's ways of working cooperatively. And as a matter of fact, me and a group of my girlfriends were going to start one, because we were just thinking, we remember our mothers doing this, our mothers and their friends, and our grandmothers and their friends doing this. And as we sit and think about our financial challenges as women of color in this society, it becomes we can rely on each other, you know? And so that's going to be a personal journey for me as well. As I move into the co-op sector, you know, for me, it's also about having my feet firmly rooted in the ways that culturally cooperation is already part of my experience. So, I'm looking forward to that, and that's going to be as much creating a Rosca with my friends is going to be as much um, you know a way of honoring that intergenerational knowledge as much as it is stepping into a form of cooperation. um, so yeah, I also recommend folks look up the Banker Ladies and the work of Dr. Carolyn Shanaz Hussein, who's really done a lot of writing and advocacy for the Banker Ladies. And, to also, check out the Freedom Dreams social, because I'm hoping to be transparent about the process as me and my girlfriends move through this process of forming one, documenting our experiences on Freedom Dreams social.
Yeah. Thank you very much, ladies. And just, as you brought up the Banker Ladies and the Susu, it's being called different things in different places. For example, that's been called, there's Ajo. It's called Ajo in my own language. It's called Osusu in other parts of Nigeria. So there are different names for it. And I can remember a friend telling me that everything of value that was that was quality that our mother had was gotten through that cooperative model that we know, that we grew up knowing. And I know that even having conversation about Women Ladies Cooperative with ladies in Canada, in Calgary, the most thing they ask, so is it going to be like what they know? And I said, no, really, it's quite different. But I think that's a conversation for another day to see how can we incorporate this way. Because the truth is that this can actually still blossom to make a difference. Because I know of cooperatives back in Nigeria that started like the Osusu, the Buskas, but then instead of them just saving the money, they invest this money in businesses and get the returns to share with the members. So they invest in real estate, they invest in buying food in bulk, sell cheaper to their members, they invest in stocks, buy stocks for their members, they invest in, just think about it. And this actually grows. And I'm looking forward to having that structure for Blooming Ladies Cooperative. And of course, with the legal backing and everything we can get in Canada. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So, ladies and gentlemen watching us, this is a conversation that is not finished yet. It's going to continue. So, watch out for the next episode of the Blooming Ladies Cooperative DLC show. Thank you very much, our wonderful guests. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Heather, for being on the show with me. And I hope that you've learned something about the cooperative model if you don't know anything about it yet. Go ahead and check Blooming Ladies Cooperative, which is www.bloomingladiescoop.ca. And you can check Cooperative first, where Heather works. They help cooperative to start. So if you are in Western Canada and you want to start a cooperative, you can check them out. Freedomdreams.ca.
It's freedomdreamscoop.ca.
Okay, yeah. Freedomsdreamscoop.ca, you can check her out. And ladies, if you're out there, if you want to join the Blooming Ladies Cooperative, go ahead and go to our website and join us as we are starting this exciting journey of building a better life for the women in our community, changing the trajectories of our women in our community, changing the narratives, changing our stories, more like taking our lives in our own hands and building our own stories the way we want it to be told. Thank you very much. And it's been a pleasure being with you. Take care. Bye. God bless.
Bye.
Thank you, Heather.